Top of the hour, time for a look at what's happening across the area. As far as weather is concerned, we're pretty much dry up and down the I-5 corridor. Another little shower moving under the coast range south of Tillamook, but it should remain dry here in Portland. As far as current temperatures across the Pacific Northwest, kind of cool out there tonight. It's 39 in Pendleton, 45 in Seattle, and 47 here in the Rose City.
News tonight, President Bush on terrorism and weapons of mass destruction.
These terrorist groups seek to destabilize entire nations and regions. They're seeking chemical, biological, and nuclear weapons.
Is it something that Americans should be worried about now? The Federal Reserve takes another shot at reviving the economy. It cuts interest rates again. We talk to another Afghan opposition leader the U.S. has hopes for, though it is uncertain where he is. And promoting the United States in the Muslim world by telling them how Muslims live here.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to begin with the president tonight because this morning he raised the possibility that Osama bin Laden may be trying to get nuclear weapons. This subject of terrorists trying to get their hands on weapons of mass destruction has been worried about for years, but the president has raised it to a whole new level. And so we go first to our White House correspondent, Terry Moran. He couldn't have made it more serious, Terry.
He could not have, Peter. For days, Vice President Cheney has been quietly briefing members of Congress on the al-Qaeda terrorist network's efforts to acquire nuclear weapons. But today, the president chose to make those concerns very public.
Speaking via satellite to Central European leaders gathered in Warsaw, the president laid out in stark terms al-Qaeda's goals.
They're seeking chemical, biological, and nuclear weapons. Given the means, our enemies would be a threat to every nation and eventually to civilization itself.
That, aides say, was a deliberate message designed to reinvigorate world opinion in the war on terrorism. It was also, officials add, based on credible intelligence findings. In the African embassy bombing trial earlier this year, a witness claimed that in 1994 in Sudan, he tried to purchase South African uranium for $1.5 million on behalf of al-Qaeda. He did not close the deal, but said others may have. And in 1998, Osama bin Laden told ABC's John Miller he was determined to acquire nuclear weapons, saying, "To seek to possess the weapons that could counter those of the infidels is a religious duty." Today in the Rose Garden with French President Chirac, Mr. Bush pledged an all-out effort to stop bin Laden.
If he doesn't have them, we will work hard to make sure he doesn't. If he does, we'll make sure he doesn't deploy them.
The president's comments sparked a barrage of questions at the White House briefing, but the press secretary was quick to point out other officials over the years have said the same things.
It's not a secret, and it's something the president thought was appropriate to get into today.
Now, the president's target audience was the worldwide audience for these remarks as he tries to build support and firm up support for the wider war against terrorism. But Peter, aides say that he knew in a nation already on alert, his words would be taken very seriously at home.
Thank you, Terry. Terry Moran at the White House. President Bush's warning today is indeed bound to make people very anxious. And to repeat, he said Osama bin Laden's intentions must be taken seriously. ABC's Ned Potter tonight on some recent history.
There is no proof Osama bin Laden has succeeded in getting nuclear material, but his group and other smaller ones have tried.
It's not likely that they can get a nuclear device, but it certainly is possible, and the consequences are catastrophic.
The problem is that since the collapse of the Soviet Union, not everything in its nuclear complex has been properly stored or accounted for. Black marketeers in Russia have been caught several times trying to sell nuclear material. Former White House counsel Lloyd Cutler co-chaired a U.S. panel that surveyed the Russian stockpile.
The bombs and the material are kept very loosely in warehouses that are not guarded, or if they are guarded, they're guarded by guards who can easily be bribed.
Cutler says some weapons could be very small. In the 1960s, the U.S. experimented with a bomb the size of a suitcase, delivered by a man with a parachute. A terror group also need not get its hands on an actual nuclear weapon. Even a conventional bomb laced with radioactive material could cause widespread damage. So how does the U.S. protect itself? Cutler's Group says it's already doing many of the right things, but it needs to do more. At airports and harbors in the U.S., the government has begun to use sensors that can detect hidden nuclear shipments. And the Energy Department has gone to aging plants in Russia to help them modernize their security.
It's our responsibility, and it's a Russian responsibility, to get rid of those weapons.
In fact, the former Soviet states have shown they're glad to be rid of the problem. In 1994, the U.S. flew 1,300 pounds of uranium from Kazakhstan to an American weapons plant. But many more tons remain. Ned Potter, ABC News, New York.
Now to Afghanistan. The Pentagon said for the first time today it has twice used the largest conventional bomb in its arsenal against the Taliban. It is the 15,000-pound so-called Daisy Cutter. It is used against troops who are well dug in. In Afghanistan, the opposition Northern Alliance said it had gained some territory from the Taliban today. Hard to tell how much. And the key to victory, some people believe, still lies elsewhere. ABC's Dan Harris reports tonight from Quetta, near the border with Afghanistan.
U.S. intelligence has identified this man as the best hope for leading a rebellion against the Taliban. Hamid Karzai, a prominent tribal leader, has lived in exile for years and been a forceful voice against the Taliban and al-Qaeda.
Once the Afghans take control of their own country, terrorism will run away from our country.
Shortly after that interview, after the U.S. strikes began, Karzai drove into southern Afghanistan with a group of supporters. His mission, monitored and supported by the CIA, to turn local tribal chiefs against the Taliban. Are you in a lot of danger right now? We spoke to Karzai by satellite phone tonight from his family home in Pakistan.
No, I'm not in any kind of danger right now.
Karzai says his men fought a fierce battle with the Taliban in Uruzgan province Thursday, and that he has the support of many civilians in the area. Beyond that, there is a lot of confusion. Disagreement, for example, about how much support the U.S. is giving Karzai.
We have, I know, delivered ammunition and some supplies to him.
We have not had any food supply to us at all. We were sleeping in clothes. Our people were bare feet, or people were without jackets. They are still all like that.
There's also disagreement about where Karzai is. The Pentagon says on Sunday, U.S. forces evacuated him to neighboring Pakistan.
At his request, he was extracted from Afghanistan with a small number of his senior supporters and fighters.
No, I'm in Afghanistan. That's I can tell you. I stayed on in Afghanistan together with my men.
There is no disagreement, however, about the importance of Karzai's mission, called pivotal to the success of the war. Dan Harris, ABC News, Quetta.
And now the big news about the economy today. The Federal Reserve cut interest rates today for the 10th time this year, half a point to 2%, which is the lowest level in 40 years. And there was a solid rally on Wall Street. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was up 150 points to close at 9,591. On the NASDAQ, stocks were up 41 points. The Fed's move is, of course, the latest effort to rescue an economy that seems to defy rescue. And ABC's Betsy Stark is with us. The Federal Reserve clearly thinks it needs to stay aggressive.
And clearly reacting to some of the abysmal economic news that we've had lately, Peter. The Fed stepped up to the plate once again very aggressively today, but all the interest rate cuts this year have done little to settle two nagging concerns. First, is the Fed running out of the ammunition to fire up this economy? And second, how effective have these interest rate cuts been? The Federal Reserve outlined what Americans already know in delivering its rate cut today. Heightened uncertainty and a deterioration in business conditions both here and abroad are damping business conditions. The risks are weighted mainly toward economic weakness.
This is America's Job Bank.
At a job fair in Atlanta today, out-of-work Americans doubted there was much Alan Greenspan could do for them.
Unless his cut is going to help me get a job at this point, it's probably not going to make any difference to me.
Business owners are also skeptical of the Fed's powers. Emma Price says low rates help keep her loan costs down, but they have not increased sales of her lighting fixtures.
If you don't have customers that want to buy your product, it doesn't matter what the interest rates are.
Analysts say so many companies overspent on new buildings, machinery, and technology during the boom of the late 90s that they now find themselves saddled with a surplus of everything in an economy gone bust. And low interest rates are no cure for that ill.
The Fed doesn't control that. They can influence it on the margin, but they don't control it, and it's just going to take some time.
Still, many say things would be far worse without Mr. Greenspan's rate cuts. They have clearly helped the stock market rise in the last 2 months, despite an avalanche of bad news.
It appears to me that we've reached one of those sort of magical moments in stock market history when investors collectively decide that the interest rate cuts that we've seen are going to do the trick.
One other interesting note from today's decision, the Fed said the increased cost of securities since September 11th was creating some drag on the economy, but it expected it would be temporary. All eyes are now on Congress to do its part to help the economy by passing an economic stimulus package. The sooner the better, Peter.
Thanks very much, Betsy Stark. On the subject of money, there was a congressional hearing today about the charities that have raised more than $1 billion for the victims of the terrorist attacks. There have been complaints, as you know, about how the funds are being distributed. ABC's John Miller is with us. And John, this was an issue today in Washington and in New York.
Yes, it was, Peter. There's been some debate and more than a little confusion over how much of that money has found its way to the people who need it most. Today, Congress took up that question. The families of the victims of the Twin Towers told of being caught in a confusing maze of goodwill groups.
I don't think contributors to the various September 11th funds thought that their donations would be caught up in so much red tape and become such a source of frustration for the families.
The Red Cross has collected $547 million and doled out $120 million of that. But Russa Steiner says when she gave the Red Cross a pile of bills, they agreed to pay some but not others. And she said she did not immediately receive a blanket grant of $25,000 the Red Cross has been giving to victims' families.
I have also had to deal with dunning notices and threats.
Bernadine Healy, the outgoing Red Cross president, admitted there were problems.
So it's your testimony today that what happened to Mrs. Steiner would be an anomaly.
Well, I certainly hope so. You know, we have had problems with the Disaster Operations Center. We're upgrading it.
The New York City Fund, set up by Mayor Rudolph Giuliani, has raised $100 million, of which $23 million is already in the bank. But the fund for the families of police and firefighters killed at the towers has yet to issue one check.
For them to sit on it, to me, is a disgrace.
Frank Ferreira of the Fraternal Order of Police says the city is dragging its feet.
This is an issue about people, dignity for those families. Everybody deserves to get some sort of funding from these monies.
New York City officials say they are moving slowly because the families of police and firefighters continue to receive city paychecks, and the fund is meant to address the families' long-term financial needs. There are over 200 charities involved in getting this money out to the families. And if today was any example, it's certainly more complex than anything Congress was going to be able to sort through this afternoon.
Thank you, John. John Miller, thank you very much. When we come back, it's election day around the country. A third of the nation's cities are choosing their mayors. We take a closer look tonight at the government's information offensive, the effort to rebrand America. And finally in the broadcast tonight, trading cards for the latest war.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Brought to you by Hefty the Gripper Trash Bags.
If I had a man like Hefty. If I had a man like Hefty. He'd always be coming up with new ways to impress me.
Introducing Hefty the Gripper, the first kitchen bag with a stretch and grip top so it hugs the can and won't slip.
Oh, and he'd know how to hold on tight.
And he wouldn't cave under pressure. Nothing's made like the Gripper. It stretches, grips, and stays put so it can take it like a man.
And when I'm done with him, ciao, baby.
Bye-bye. So long. The Gripper. New from Hefty. The strong, dependable type.
What should you do if you're having a heart attack? First, call an ambulance, then take Bayer aspirin. Now aspirin may help stop you from dying when taken during a heart attack. Talk to your doctor now. Bayer, take it for pain, take it for life.
How many 1-liter bottles would you have to buy to equal the amount of water you get from one pure faucet mount? About 378. Pure faucet mount filters. Pure water made easy.
I'm every man.
And every woman who ever suffered from frequent, persistent heartburn.
If you've treated your heartburn and changed your diet, but it comes back 2 or more days a week, then you may know about the burning pain of acid reflux disease.
But there's something about acid reflux that I didn't know.
Over time, that acid churning up can wear away the lining of your esophagus.
I didn't know.
I didn't know.
I didn't.
But today, there's a purple pill called Nexium. It's from the makers of Prilosec. Just 1 prescription Nexium a day gives many people complete resolution of heartburn symptoms.
That could mean complete heartburn relief.
And importantly, Nexium is also proven to heal erosions in the esophagus caused by acid reflux. Only a doctor can determine if you have this damage. Other serious stomach conditions may still exist. The most common side effects of Nexium and Prilosec are headache, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. So talk to your doctor and call this number for more information and for a free trial certificate for Nexium.
Relieve the heartburn, heal the damage. It's possible with today's purple pill called Nexium.
Today is Election Day. There are governor's races in New Jersey and Virginia and mayor's races in a third of U.S. cities. We'll analyze the results tomorrow when we have them completely. Tonight we're going to take a look at a notable ballot proposal in San Francisco, which asks voters to approve a $100 million bond for energy alternatives. Here's ABC's Judy Muller.
San Francisco is famous for its fog. Even so, the city is hoping to go solar.
Solar cells absorb energy directly from the sun, and on a foggy day, it turns out they get about 80% as much as on a perfectly clear day.
Polls show that city voters are expected to approve the bond issue for solar and wind power, a combination that would provide up to 20% of the energy demand at city buildings.
We've got all of these rooftops. We've got the jails, the schools, the hospitals.
The war abroad and fears of terrorist attacks on utilities at home have prompted renewed interest in alternative fuels. San Francisco, which experienced blackouts last summer, is especially concerned about gaining independence from outside energy sources.
We've let this country's energy security become hostage to nations and politics that we cannot control and will never control.
Wind is now the cheapest source of electricity in this country, and improved solar technology has made it extremely cost-effective. One advantage to both solar and wind power is that they are non-polluting, and unlike fossil fuels, which will eventually run out, the sun and the wind are renewable resources. The much-feared energy crisis failed to materialize in California, due in part to cool summer weather and increased conservation. Even so, San Francisco would rather rely on something more dependable from now on. Judy Muller, ABC News, San Francisco.
In the national briefing tonight, the Attorney General John Ashcroft gave federal drug agents permission to take action against doctors who help terminally ill patients die. These doctors would lose their licenses to prescribe drugs if Mr. Ashcroft has his way. Oregon is the only state with an assisted suicide law. The state will now sue the Attorney General. In Philadelphia, a 5th patient has received a self-contained artificial heart, and it is apparently performing well. In Illinois today, the baseball owners voted to eliminate 2 teams which are consistently losing money. Analysts think tonight that the Montreal Expos, the Minnesota Twins, the Florida Marlins, and the Tampa Bay Devil Rays are all vulnerable. When we come back, selling America to a skeptical world. A closer look at the campaign.
Why do I eat?
Why do I eat Healthy Choice Beef Tips Portobello? Because it has big, tender chunks of beef.
Because it tastes great.
Did I mention it tastes great?
Because my body needs balanced nutrition. Why do I eat Healthy Choice?
Beef Tips Portobello.
It helps me do the things I like to do. That's why.
Plastic is anything we ask it to be. On the job, it's our helping hand, for safety's sake in our working lives, and forever evolving before our eyes. It's in the airbag that protects us, and a cell phone to connect us, an answer when we need it most. Plastic carries our hopes, letting us all look forward to a safer, more brilliant tomorrow. Plastics make it possible.
Pete Sampras knows about One-A-Day's new active multivitamin.
with more B vitamins and ginseng to enhance energy. One a day. Get active, stay active.
In 1935, Foxwood Farms started with one horse and a truck. The horse was a thoroughbred, the truck a Chevy Suburban. Today, they have a few more horses, but there's still only one truck, Chevy Suburban. With an available 8.1-liter Vortec engine, it's capable of towing up to 6 tons, making it the best Suburban yet. Chevy Suburban, like a rock.
When that pastrami on rye catches up with me, heartburn big time. My passenger says, here, take a Zantac 75. I say, what are you, a doctor? And he says, yeah.
Zantac 75, the heartburn relief doctors trust.
You go first. I think you are. Being first is never easy. Will I make it? Will I be laughed at? Will it be worth it?
As America defends its freedom, Good Morning America goes to sea, broadcasting live from the USS Enterprise, side by side with the men and women fighting for our nation. Friday.
We're going to take a closer look tonight at the effort to redefine America for the Muslim world. The Bush administration has hired one of the most powerful people in advertising to tell the American story. Charlotte Beers is the new Undersecretary of State for Public Diplomacy. She created advertising campaigns for Head & Shoulders shampoo, American Express, and Uncle Ben's rice. It is a controversial appointment. Some people believe the U.S. can use the branding principles of advertising to sell a country. Others believe it is naive and superficial. We'll look more closely as the campaign develops. But tonight, ABC's Robert Krulwich on one way the message might be sent.
The U.S. needs to convince people across the Middle East that America is not against Islam. And there's a way to do that that could be easy and very effective, says this man. Use American Muslims.
Of course, American Muslims are in a unique position to do that kind of job, because then it will not be propaganda.
If without government help, American Muslims created an ad campaign that just showed images of what it's like to be a Muslim in America, the images would be startling to Middle Easterners, says Aslan Abdullah. He edits a national magazine for Muslims in California.
They don't know. The problem is that we have not communicated with them.
I need 2 paragraphs, and remember, a paragraph has what?
They don't know that Muslim children can go to religious schools in America. They don't know that Muslim women can mix freely with other Americans. They assume, says Abdullah, that in America mosques are attacked. These images they see on TV. But an image like this...
it would be news.
It is also news, he says, that hundreds of Muslims died on September 11th, especially, he says, that Muslim women died. And when Middle Easterners see these images of Muslims freely practicing their religion here, free to vote and run for office here, these pictures may not make them like America, but it may make it harder for them to think of America as anti-Muslim, especially if American Muslims sponsor the campaign. Would Abdullah be part of that?
Certainly. Why not? I mean, after all, it's a question of my own image. I'm part of this country.
And the question is, how many other Muslim Americans would join him? Robert Krulwich, ABC News, New York.
When we come back, the final item in our broadcast, the new trading cards for the new era.
When that pastrami on rye catches up with me, heartburn big time. My passenger says, here, take a Zantac 75. I say, what are you, a doctor? And he says, yeah.
Zantac 75, the heartburn relief doctors trust.
How can you provide for the future of the people who depend on you? With the power of Pacific Life. For over 130 years, Pacific Life has improved the lives of millions with investments, annuities, and insurance. Because careful planning today can help them reach their dreams tomorrow. Discover the power of Pacific Life.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today.
I should have used Preparation H.
Preparation H medicated wipes with aloe, the easy way to cleanse, cool, and soothe. Easier because they're 4 times bigger than Tux pads. Preparation H medicated wipes, big relief.
Don't get that, Frank.
Hello? Baxter!
Crunchy Meow Mix Seafood Middles. Mackerel and tuna flavors make it taste so good. Cats ask for it. By name.
Your eyes need nutrition as well as the rest of your body, so Centrum and Centrum Silver added lutein to help maintain your precious sight. Now your eyes, your toes, and everything in between are covered by Centrum and Centrum Silver. More complete from A to Zinc.
Is 106 cubic feet of interior space really necessary? As a matter of fact, it is. Avalon, the most spacious sedan we've ever created.
Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Vioxx, a prescription medicine available from your doctor. Or call 1-888-VIOXX22 for information. Vioxx.
I've always liked natural things. That's why I use Beano. Only Beano helps prevent gas from problem foods with a natural food enzyme. It's not a drug. So if you prefer natural ingredients like I do, prevent gas with Beano.
I'm Paul Lendman. Coming up next on K2 News, it's Oregon versus the U.S. in a showdown over the assisted suicide law. The Fed cuts interest rates for the 10th time this year. How will that affect you and the local economy? And what yesterday's visit from a presidential cabinet member meant to some former street kids and the program trying to help them. Next on K2.
The airlines got billions of your tax dollars when the government tried to bail them out, but they're still in trouble. Should they get even more of your money? Tomorrow on World News Tonight.
Finally this evening, the trading cards and the Times. The Topps company, which makes bubble gum and baseball cards, has produced a new edition. Yes, it is the Enduring Freedom Series, the administration's name for the war against terrorism. There are members of the administration in various action poses, the National Security Advisor and the Secretary of Transportation among them. Other countries and leaders in a category called the World Supports America. Canada rallies to the cause. NATO stands tall. The Israeli foreign minister is included, and the Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat, and the British Prime Minister Tony Blair, of course. There are cards from September 11th and some general ones called America Unites. Almost half the pictures are American weapons, from the stealth bomber to the USS Winston Churchill, which the company calls a courageous namesake. Topps has been producing patriotic cards since the Korean War. The company sends them to troops. And yes, there is a Bin Laden card in this collection. It's the only one in black and white. That's our report on World News Tonight. Tomorrow on World News, the women of Afghanistan. Don't forget Nightline. I'm Peter Jennings. Have a good evening and good night.
New faces.
Drop the gun!
New season.
There's a good chance that was my